Good morning. It is a beautiful day here, and it also happens to be my 40th birthday. So I thought, in honor of my 40th birthday, I would take you guys along with me as I water my plants and just check in on them this morning, and then you can see what kinds of plants I have. So I hope you enjoy, and let me know if you have any questions. Before I started making this video, I already watered the plants on this shelf that needed to be watered. I guess I'll start on the left here. I have some plant babies starting. I have these in this little tray because I thought, in this dish, because I thought it would make a cute little fairy garden. And we've got an echeveria, a couple of echeverias there, leaves that have rooted. They do have roots on them, but they don't have baby plants on them yet. We've got a little crassula. I think that's a crassula. Back there are some strawberries that I planted from seed. They're just barely starting, if you can see them. That is maybe 5 weeks of growth. So they were slow to come up, but hopefully they will produce some pretty vines soon. So back here I've got some cactus. This one on the left there is a prickly pear, and the second one is called a fairy tale castle cactus. You can see it kind of grows, looks a little bit like the towers of a fairy tale castle. And the third one, I can't remember what that one is called. It's got 3 lobes on its leaf, but that one I got recently, and so it hasn't put out any new growth yet. But I didn't water those 3 guys because they don't like to be watered very often. Then I have my Christmas cactus leaves. They look pretty puny right now. I did see a couple of little tiny baby roots coming out in the joints between some of these, so we'll see what happens there. And this is also a little tiny fairy garden that I started. So you can see it has, over here, it has a little tiny echeveria just starting to grow. So I'm hoping to get a little bit of new growth on that one in the next couple of weeks. These trays are full of succulent leaves that are just waiting to root. I'm waiting for them to root. Succulents are great at propagation because they are full of the kinds of cells that can be anything, these undifferentiated cells. All plants have them, but for most plants, they only exist in the stem, and you can only propagate them in certain ways. But for a succulent, if a piece falls off your plant, even if it's just the broken piece off of a leaf or something, set it on some soil and wait. Usually the end of the broken piece has to dry out and callus over or kind of heal over before it will root. But then you'll be shocked at how fast it puts out little baby roots. This one got a little root coming out there. And that crassula there has some roots. I tried to tug on it a little bit yesterday. What else? As they start rooting, I usually pull them out of the tray and put them into a container of some sort, so I don't have a lot of them left here with roots on them. But that's what those are doing. And let's see, here's a tiny little fairy garden. It has a money tree plant. I don't remember the scientific name for that one. And then these are little sempervivum hens and chicks. So these are just the little babies, and I just clip them off and stick them in the soil and they grow. Let's see, I've got these two are the same genus and just slightly different variants. This one's called a panda plant usually, and this one is called a chocolate soldier, I think. But they're in the Kalanchoe genus. And these are more hen than chicks, but this is the Silver King variety. It's got pink in the middle. And these guys are looking a little bit wilted. I did just water them, so hopefully they'll come back. Back there we've got a purplish echeveria. I think that one's called a ghost plant variant or something like that. That one's really pretty. And there's some more crassulas back there growing. Here we've got a couple different types of Echeveria. They're not doing great. These I tried to put outside, and I think they just got too hot, so then they wilted, and I'm trying to get them back. But this guy's got some new growth on top, but they do have some dead leaves in there, and I'll just pull those out or snip them off with some little scissors. And all their top leaves look pretty good, so they should do all right. Here's another Echeveria that's doing great, and one that's not doing so great, also because I tried to put him outside and he got too hot too quickly. So when you put things outside, you want to make sure you acclimate them by just putting them outside for a little bit at a time. And when you have a lot of plants, that takes a lot of time, but it's worth it. If you really want to have these plants outside, they need to get used to it an hour or 2 hours at a time. And I would start with morning sunlight. Here I have an Echeveria and a Sempervivum that's doing pretty well. The Echeveria lost some leaves, but that's okay. The leaves have some bumps on them because they were in a pot that didn't drain well. So I'm looking for new growth on that one anyway. And there's another Echeveria. And then in the corner I have my my carnivorous plants, my 2 Venus flytraps and my pitcher plant. Those guys are doing great, and they do sit in about 1/2 inch of distilled water all the time during their growing season. So those are the plants on this shelf, and these shelves, by the way, are in my kitchen. And then we can go up to the top shelf where we have back there in the back is a purple velvet plant and an aloe. Over here we've got an oxalis and a couple of African violets, and I've got a snake plant or mother-in-law's tongue here. These are just leaves that I cut off, and I'm waiting for them to root. Takes them a long time, but they should get there. And I've got, this is called golden moss. It's a sedum, I think. Yeah, it's a sedum genus plant. So it is a succulent, but just teeny tiny, and it's really pretty. But this one is, I had to transplant this one. It wasn't doing so great in the pot that it came in. So I think it looks pretty good for where it was before. I've got a couple of those pink center hen and chicks back there. This is some sage that I planted from seed that it just never flourished. I don't know why. Last year and the year before I had sage with these huge, gorgeous, good smelling leaves, and this year they're just scraggly. This is a crassula that has grown to look like a little tree. I'm not sure why it grew that way exactly, but it's pretty cute. And I've got some small pots back here with some things in them. These are things that will go to the farmer's market. So various little succulents back there. And over here I have an Echeveria that got really stretched out in the, I'm gonna water it. Got really stretched out in the pot that it was in when I bought it. So I didn't cut it back. I didn't try to fix the stretching. I just repotted it because it has this flower spike on it. And I really am excited to see the flowers coming from this. Oh, now it's not focusing. Coming from this Echeveria plant. So I watered the Echeveria. I'm going to water these. Generally, I water them about once a week. It hasn't been quite a week yet since the last time I watered these guys, but a lot of these little ones are transplants, and they're not well rooted yet, so they need a little extra care while they're getting established. These are peperomias back here, these red peperomias. I think the variety it's called red log. Those are pretty. They get red on the back of their leaves. Here is a jelly bean plant. That's a sedum variety. And this one, I don't remember what this one is called, but these leaves fall off at the slightest bump. So I've had a really hard time keeping these guys, growing them and keeping them healthy and propagating them, because every time I move them around, they fall apart. And I'm really bad about moving things around more often than I probably should. And sorry about the fly paper in the video there, but that's one of the realities of having plants, is that sometimes you get those soil fungus gnats. So I seem to have managed to get rid of most of them at this point, so I guess I could take the fly paper down, but they can get bad and take over. They were pretty bad at the beginning of this summer, and I had to repot a lot of my plants, throw out the soil that I had, let the pots, clean out the pots, and get some new soil in there and try to take care of that issue. Up here at the top, I do have a couple of plants. I have 2 pothos plants hanging down from up there. And those guys don't need to be watered very often, so I'll just leave them be for today. So now we'll move down. We've looked at that shelf and this shelf that's directly under the grow light, and this bottom shelf. Well, it's not the bottom shelf. The bottom shelf has stuff stored on it, but this is the bottom plant shelf. And I have lots and lots of succulents crammed into this small space, and a couple of other plants that are not succulents. So I'm going to water them all, but not on video because it's hard to hold the camera and water at the same time. But I've got, let's see, let me set this down, sorry. There's another panda plant back there, and these are jade plants. And we've got some hen and chicks growing out of this little pitcher. This is more of that red log peperomia that I had a little baby of on the top shelf. This one is called Burro's Tail. It's a sedum. There's some more jade plants. And there's a little arrowhead leaf plant. That one's really cute. There's a little baby echeveria growing at the end of that leaf. This is an echeveria, another little baby that's rooting. This is a tiny little crassula with a tiny bit of string of pearls. There was some of that in these planters that I bought that had all different types of succulents in them, and they were overgrown and almost falling out of the pot. And there was just a little bit of string of pearls in there, and I thought I would put the pieces that fell apart into some soil and see if they'll grow. But string of pearls is a really delicate succulent and awfully hard to grow. It's pretty temperamental, so if you're new to growing plants, I wouldn't recommend it. I haven't found one or been successful with one, so I'm by no means an expert, but I wouldn't recommend it to anybody just trying it out. So I've got a baby crassula there. This is a little Haworthia. This is another Haworthia, different type. This one is bright pink under the bottom leaves, if you can see that. That one's kind of interesting. Another panda plant. This one, I think this is a topsy-turvy echeveria. It's just really stretched out, but I'm gonna let it get established and grow some roots before I do anything with it. That's a little hen and chicks that got all stretched out, but I think it looks kind of interesting. Another little baby growing from a leaf. This is I'm not sure. I thought this one was going to be a topsy-turvy too, but see how the leaves don't curl over the tops of themselves? This may be the one called Irish Mint, but it's another echeveria. This one has a few different succulents in it. And there's another echeveria. Here are my 2 oldest cactus friends right here. One of them is blooming. We've got a couple of big purple echeverias back there. That variety is called Pearl von Nurnberg. And here's another, oh sorry, I turned the thing sideways. Here's another echeveria with 2 flower spikes growing, and you can see those yellow flowers just starting to bloom. Those are going to be gorgeous. This one, I have not figured out what it's called yet, but it's really cool, and the leaves are hard, so I'm not sure about that one. That one's really interesting. This one in the back here behind the purple velvet is called a paddle plant or flapjacks, and that is a succulent that grows these large paddle-shaped leaves, and they turn kind of red at the edges, which is pretty. Back there I have an English ivy that I've been trying to grow for, I don't know, 3 years, and English ivy just does not do well at my house for some reason. I don't know what I'm doing wrong, but nobody can be good at everything, right? And got another little baby purple velvet growing there. So that's that shelf. And then I'll show you these on the floor. I've got some more succulents that I just didn't have room for on the shelves. Mostly those are more of the same Echeverias and Sempervivums and Crassulas. And then there's a money tree plant. So there was a baby one on one of the shelves. This is a big one. This pink plant is a Chinese evergreen, or what's the name of that one? Oh, no, I can't remember it. I'll think of it. But this is commonly called a Chinese evergreen, and this is the red variety. This is one of the red varieties called Moonstone. And then down here I've got a couple of plants that are just, they're common house plants, but I don't know their names. But I just thought they looked cute in this planter. And over here I've got a coleus. This one is called Ruby Slipper because it's so dark red. There's also one called Redhead coleus, and it's green around the edges with a red in the center. This one is called Ruby Slipper, and it's growing with a wandering Jew over here, a Tradescantia zebrina. And these I have all over my house because they grow really easily here. And down here, I don't know if I even want to show you these. These are plants I brought in from outside and cut way back. That one is a coleus. You can see it's got a little bit of leaves left. And this one is a begonia that was doing great inside or outside. And I brought it inside one year to overwinter. And since then, every time I've taken it or any cuttings from it outside, it has not done well. So I just brought it back inside to try to nurse it back to health. All right, so it's my birthday, and I'm getting tired of making videos, honestly, sorry. I just want to chill on my birthday, but I'll show you the rest of the plants I have in the kitchen, and then I'll go enjoy my birthday. I have another one of these Chinese evergreens, some more succulents over here, getting some of the light from the grow light. This is a self-watering planter that I was given, and I planted some lettuce seeds in it just the other day just to see what they would do. And this is a lily. What kind of lily is this? This is a peace lily, and right now the leaves look really floppy, and really since I got it I haven't been able to make it look really happy because it seems like I always either overwater it or underwater it. But a friend of mine recently looked at it, and I told him the problem, and he said that he thinks that it would rather be outside. So I think I'm going to try to acclimate this one in the mornings, maybe next week, and we'll see how it does outside. But it does have some new growth. It's got some gorgeous shiny leaves starting here and back there. So it's not dying or anything. It's just doesn't look perfectly happy. So we'll see how that one goes. Down here I've got some prayer plant starters. These are just from my big giant prayer plant over here. And this guy is exceedingly happy where he is. And I just cut them off above a node and stick them in water like this and watch them root. And down here I have a baby purple velvet because those root really well, and so I always have little starts coming off of that. And this is my new aloe. I think the common name is flame plant, but this is not an aloe vera. This is a different aloe variety, and it is really spiky and cute. It has a little pup growing off of it, so I will at some point soon repot it into some better soil. The soil they have it in has a lot of sphagnum moss in it to retain moisture to make it look good in the store. but I don't need anything that retains that much moisture because succulents don't like to have wet feet. They don't like to sit in water. So I'll repot it into something that drains better, and I'll try to separate this pup if he has any of his own roots. Oh, over here is this is my baby praying mantis here. Unfortunately, one of the praying mantises killed the other, I believe. The one that's left, oh, I wish I could find him. The one that's left, oh, there he is, under that leaf. The one that's left has what looks like a bite out of its abdomen, and the other one I found twitching on the floor of the enclosure. So I'm thinking that they had a little disagreement about what was food and what was not. This plant is an anthurium. This is a tropical plant that seems to be doing pretty well here. I water it almost every day. I keep its soil really moist, but I make sure that as it drains, I empty this water because it still doesn't like to sit in water, even though it likes a lot of water. And sometimes I spray the leaves with water. I'm not sure if that actually helps it or not, if it actually can absorb humidity or moisture from it through its leaves, but I don't know. It seems to be happy, so. There's that. Don't look in my messy corner. And here's a giant arrowhead plant. This is where all my baby arrowhead plants come from. It's got some new growth in there. This thing just goes crazy in this spot. This is its favorite spot. Here's a baby from that. Oh, that's my happy birthday card from my daughter. And another baby arrowhead plant back there. Here is the oldest aloe that I still have. I've given away others. I had a giant one. This is one of its pups, and it is doing really well. I call this guy Stretch Armstrong because its arms stretch way out to the sides. And this, of course, is Curtis the cactus. He's a tiny little guy, but if you can imagine it, he was less than half this size when I got him, and my brother gave him to my daughter as a present inside a tiny little terrarium on a necklace. And that was, I don't know, 4 years ago maybe, and he's doing really well. But cactuses grow slowly, so you have to be patient. And then I have another Tradescantia zebrina over here. Those just go crazy. It has some dead leaves on it, but that's totally normal. This is just what plants do. The old leaves die, and that gives the plant the ability to put its energy toward new growth like this. And then I have my giant prayer plant that is taking over the space. This actually is after I cut it back maybe 2 weeks ago or 3 weeks ago. I cut a whole bunch of stems way back and put them in water to grow, and it still is just a monster. And then down on this shelf I have another aloe type. I think that's an aloe. Yeah, that's another aloe. And then I have this orchid that I'm still trying to rehabilitate for my mom. I've never tried to work with orchids before, but this, I watched a video on how to rehabilitate an orchid that had root rot. And in the video, the guy he alternated soaking time and dry time every day for 3 weeks before it got better. So I think we're into our second week with this one, but we'll see how that goes. So those are my kitchen plants. Well, honestly, that's most of my kitchen plants. And today I'm 40. It's a good day to be 40. So anyway, I hope you liked the video, and like and subscribe if you liked it. And I'll see you guys soon. Bye.